Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was pictured on all fours on top of a woman sprawled out on the ground in the latest batch of Jeffrey Epstein Files. Haunting new images show the former prince staring directly at the camera.
3 million pages and 180,000 images, all dumped into the public record by the United States Department of Justice this January. Among them, photographs that reportedly show Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, the former Duke of York, on all fours over an unidentified woman lying on the ground, staring straight into the camera. No caption came with the images, no date was attached, and the DOJ offered a zero explanation for what the photographs depict. That absence of context has done nothing to slow their spread online, and the reason is obvious to anyone who has followed the story. Andrew's name and Jeffrey Epstein's name have been tangled together for years, and these files reportedly pull that knot even tighter. Before any of this landed, Andrew occupied a particular kind of position within the British establishment. He carried the title Duke of York, attended state functions on behalf of the crown, and lived inside the kind of gilded privilege that most people never come close to touching. A solid middle tier of Britain's upper class, not the heir, but firmly part of the institution. That standing started to collapse because of one man, Jeffrey Epstein, a convicted sex offender and financier who cultivated powerful friendships to shield himself from accountability, according to years of investigative reporting.
The U.S. Justice Department has released more than 3 million pages of documents related to the late sex offender and pedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Andrew has always maintained he did nothing wrong, and no criminal charge connected to Epstein has ever been brought against him, but the revelations have not stopped coming. The timeline matters here. Back in 2008, Jeffrey Epstein pleaded guilty in Florida to soliciting a minor, served 13 months, and landed on the sex offender registry. Andrew reportedly told associates at the time that he was stepping back from the friendship, and that remained his public position for over a decade. Then came the 2019 BBC interview with Emily Matlis, which changed everything. Andrew told Matlis on camera that a December 2010 meeting in Central Park was the only time he saw Epstein after the conviction, describing it as a mistake and claiming he severed contact afterward. That interview was a disaster by almost every measure, and what the January 2026 DOJ release reportedly contains makes it look even worse. The Epstein Files Transparency Act, reportedly signed into law last November, triggered this latest release. The House Oversight Committee oversaw the process, and the Office of Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche handled the documents. What came out was not just legal paperwork sitting in boxes. Private correspondence allegedly surfaced that contradicts years of carefully managed public statements. One email exchange dated August 2010 reportedly shows Epstein suggesting a dinner meeting with a 26-year-old Russian woman. Epstein's words in the correspondence allegedly describe her as clever, beautiful, trustworthy. Andrew, writing from what the files identify as the Duke's email account, reportedly responds that he would be in Geneva until the morning of the 22nd, but would be delighted to see her, and asks whether she would be bringing a message from Epstein. The timing of that exchange is worth sitting with, because according to the BBC, Epstein had finished his prison sentence just 1 month earlier. And that's when the September 2010 exchange enters the picture, carrying an even more uncomfortable tone. Epstein allegedly writes that he is in London and asks what time he and another individual, whose name appears redacted, should arrive, adding that they would need private time. Andrew reportedly replies that Scotland is keeping him busy, but he expects to be back by 6 in the evening, and then allegedly suggests dinner at Buckingham Palace with the words, "lots of privacy." Epstein's reported reply runs just 2 words long. BP, please. Both of those exchanges allegedly took place months before the December 2010 Central Park walk that Andrew described to Emily Matlis as his only post-conviction contact with Epstein. The correspondence reportedly stretches well beyond that window. According to the Financial Times, Andrew was allegedly still writing to Epstein into 2011, long after the Central Park photographs had already caused public humiliation. February 2011 brought a front page in the News of the World showing the two men walking together in New York the previous December, and the backlash hit hard given Epstein's criminal record. Andrew's reported response in the newly released files was not distance, but solidarity, writing to Epstein, "It would seem we are in this together and will have to rise above it." Epstein, growing increasingly paranoid according to the documents, believed a staff member identified only as J had leaked information to the press, and he allegedly wanted that person gone. A $60,000 severance payment came up in the discussion, but here's the thing. Epstein reportedly refused to pay it himself, writing that a payment from him would look like a payoff for the little expletive if disclosed. Andrew allegedly volunteered a solution, writing, "I assume it could come from any legal firm to protect." And Epstein reportedly agreed, saying there should be nothing direct and the former employee should sign a general release. Whether that payment ever went through remains unknown based on the files released so far. Other details in the release reportedly sketch an even broader picture of alleged closeness between the two men. Epstein was allegedly invited to Andrew's birthday celebration at St. James's Palace in February 2010 after the Florida conviction. References in the documents reportedly describe Epstein offering to bring women to Buckingham Palace, and Andrew allegedly referred to Epstein's circle as "my U.S. family" in one exchange. Ongoing discussions about money, introductions, and access between what has been described as the Little St. James Island Network and the Royal Lodge at Windsor also appear in the files. One email from late December 2010 reportedly has Andrew writing, "How are you? Good to be free," allegedly sent shortly after Epstein's release from house arrest. Taken together, all of it points to a relationship that reportedly did not end in 2008, no matter how many times that claim was repeated. Sarah Ferguson, the former Duchess of York and Andrew's ex-wife, is not reportedly named directly in this latest batch of emails, but commentary around the documents has drawn fresh attention to how embedded Epstein allegedly was in their lives. Ferguson claimed last year that she felt compelled to remain loyal to Epstein because he was blackmailing her. None of the newly released material confirms that claim, according to the BBC, but the tone of deference and familiarity running through the correspondence sits uneasily next to the public narrative both of them maintained for years. What reportedly stings the most for victims and their advocates is the tone itself. Commentators have pointed to the allegedly casual way Epstein was discussed, welcomed, and accommodated within palace spaces after his conviction, the kind of normalization that makes the blood run cold. The language in the emails reads as friendly, even obsequious at times, and it is that warmth toward a convicted sex offender from inside the walls of Britain's most famous estate that continues to provoke anger. The photographs remain the most jarring part of this entire release. According to the BBC, it has not been able to independently verify the circumstances surrounding the images. The woman pictured is unidentified and fully clothed, and no one from the DOJ has offered an explanation for what they show. Without that context, drawing firm conclusions is impossible, but the images now sit in the public record where they cannot be unseen, and given the history attached to the man in them, they have only added weight to the pile of unanswered questions. Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor was reportedly stripped of his royal titles and honors last October under